Welcome to another amazing episode while we're celebrating Women's Month. It's August. This is the month where we remind you to appreciate us. So please do appreciate us. Hashtag healing with Sophie and Gugu. Today we have an amazing guest. Her name is Galaletsang Koffman, an amazing flamboyant character on screen. You might know her from The River, but in real life, she's just a normal young passionate, well-driven young lady who's also had to kick down, the walls to get to where she is, who continues to fight the battles to stand and grow her brand. Very serious and took the whole acting thing to another level when she pursued to actually go and study for acting, right? You're a qualified actress.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Two degrees.
Okay.
2 degrees.
So yes, please welcome or help us welcome the amazing Galaletsang, we call her Gala Koffman.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, ladies. I have to say the show is amazing, and you guys are doing such a great job. Sophie and Gugu, what a great combination.
Thank you.
You guys complement each other
you.
so much, and I just love the fact that you guys have people coming here, sharing their stories and motivating other people to know that, they're not the only people going through this journey, and it's important that we have such platforms where people go through things and speak about them so we can help one another heal, because we are such a broken nation, not just South Africa, but the whole world together. So big ups to you guys for creating such platforms. Thank you so much for having me. Yes.
So where did it all begin? I mean, your passion for the industry. I mean, now I wanted to be a social worker, then I wanted to be a doctor, and then I don't know what else I wanted to be. But then here I am. So what was your true passion? Where did you start? Like, what did you dream about becoming? Because I think as women, we dream a lot and we aspire a lot. So what was your biggest dream?
I'm so glad that you actually said as women.
Yeah.
Because I dreamt of becoming so many things. And as a woman, there were so many things I was told that I can't become. So I had to look for other things to become. And I was like, okay, cool. Let me be an actor, because then if I'm an actor, I can be anything, So for me, when I started off, I wanted to be a singer. Then they were like, no, my voice is too deep. So then I wanted to be a presenter. Then they were like, no, you'll never make it. And it was just like getting shut down after shutdown after shutdown, especially because I grew up in Makapanstad, which is a very, very small town village in the northwest, whereby not everybody's dreams are valid because nothing seems accessible,
Yeah.
I had to travel so far just to learn the English language, because around me, predominantly first language was Tswana, second additional language was Sepedi. So you either travel far or you stay in there to be a part of that cycle. And
you're stuck.
And you're stuck. So eventually I couldn't go that far. All I could see was on TV. I grew up watching you.
Yes, girl.
You understand? And you are still very young, I have to say, looking forever young, aging gracefully. But it's such things where you want to reach out to become, And even when I look at my character now, Beauty, when I look at character references, Queen Rumeroka was somebody that I looked at because Beauty is so flamboyant to try and get inspired, not to replicate, but to emulate, So it's very important that for me, other kids also understand that I come from a background whereby I was told no so many times.
Can you just take us through that journey? I know this is what we preach on the show all the time.
Yes.
When people see you, they don't understand the
journey.
struggles and how you got to be, Ugala right now in 2020 or a beauty character on The River.
Yes.
What challenges did you face? There must have been challenges. The road is never just too easy, but unfortunately our kids just see us and they feel, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. Everything looks so easy because of the filter of social media. Can you just take us through to, what challenges did you face just to pursue and find yourself in acting?
It's so strange to say that. I remember being at the premiere of your movie, the one you produced,
Yeah.
And you were speaking about the challenges you faced, and people thought, oh my gosh, you had it so easy, it happened overnight. And you addressed that finances, one, are a challenge. Endurance is a challenge because there comes moments where you feel like giving up, or you feel like, you can't carry on. And once again, I want to thank you guys for having this platform where we can have these discussions as women openly from a non-judgmental place where you feel like, we can actually inspire one another to aspire to be better.
Yeah.
For me, my biggest challenge also finances. So coming to Joburg, coming from a family that I thought had a lot of money in the villages because we had cheese and I could speak English.
True.
And then coming to Joburg and realizing that's not always the truth, because now you're exposed to children who come from more privileged backgrounds and they have more, and then you get home and you want to ask your mom for a BlackBerry, or when BBM came in, or for an E250 way back, or for a V360, or a Sony Ericsson Walkman, and your parents can't afford that because there's so many of you guys who are staying in a 2-bedroom apartment, and everybody has moved to Makapanstad to make it happen, so there's like 8 people in the house, you know? So for me, it was one of those things whereby I really wanted to pursue gymnastics and ballet. I couldn't carry on all the way through because of finances, you know? So at some point it had to stop. And even acting, I used to sit and watch channels, you know, or workshops, you know, before I decided to go study at university, where I could educate myself. But endurance was the biggest one. You know, because the mind plays games on you. The mind plays games on you, especially when no one is watching, because it doesn't matter how many motivational speeches you can watch in the morning, whether you listen to Denzel or to Oprah or even religion, you know, when no one is watching, your faith is really tested. So for me, the biggest challenge was coming to terms to realize that I'm not my circumstances, number one. And am I who I think I am? Am I capable of doing the things that I know I can do? And the one thing that frustrated me was knowing how I can actually execute to the best of my capability, but I couldn't because I wouldn't allow myself to reach my full potential because I was being lazy. Yes, and I wasn't self-disciplined enough, and I was making excuses, you know? So I needed to stop that mindset of self-pitying, you know, so that was one of the most difficult things for me, and personal challenges above all, you know.
Finances
definitely, but personal challenges emotionally and mentally.
Are you ready? Are you
and
which
family dynamics?
Yes, which
family dynamics, because you're a child and you grow up and you watch how your mother acts and how your father acts, how your mother is treated, how your father treats your mother. And that somehow is embedded into your subconscious as to how you are going to allow people to treat you when you become an adult, which is something that I'm dealing with right now. But yeah.
And how do you overcome that? Because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's like you say, it's embedded in you. Because I know what happens is there's a trigger mechanism.
Yes.
That time when your mother and father had an argument, and then you copy and paste it to your ambience.
Oh, watching
now.
your mom get dragged out of the house.
Yeah, and then somebody just pokes you, because that's how it started, maybe with your mom and dad.
Yes.
It was just a poke, and then suddenly it moved on to something else. So when somebody pokes you, it kind of triggers. How are you dealing with that? Like, because, you know, here on Healing with Sophie Gugu, we really want to take out and make people understand Uguti. What is your healing mechanism? How did you finally realize, Uguti, I have a problem? It might be big or small, but it is a problem. And how do I face it? Anxiety, depression. I mean, I used to have panic attacks and collapse, and I think I'm having a heart attack. And the doctors would tell me, Jorge, there is no cure. It's all in the mind. And I was like, wow,
Mind
the power
being
of the
tool.
mind. So for you, it's battlefield of the mind.
Yes.
You know, how do you deal? And how have you dealt with this battlefield that's pre-existing and maybe still there? How are you coping with it?
There's one of my favorite sayings says, we don't heal, we learn how to live with the pain. You know, you just learn how to manage it. For me, the unfortunate part is that it goes beyond my mother. The generational curse that was my grandmother before my mother is something that I'm trying to break right now so that my children don't have to go through it. You know, I look at my grandmother, she's divorced. I look at my mother, she's divorced. Am I also going to be a statistic? Do you understand? My grandmother, they went through different forms of abuse, each of them, you know, whether emotional or physical or even mental, which is the worst one, because nobody tells the brain that it's lying. Do you understand? So the brain creates a reality that it lives in, that it becomes trapped in forever, and that's the brain's truth, you know, whether it's self-sabotaging.
Yes.
Number one,
Big one.
Self-sabotaging. Do you understand? So for me personally, I think psychology has helped me a lot. I'm a big mental health advocate. I believe in taking care of myself. I believe in debriefing. I believe in meditation. I believe in praying. Each to their own. Whatever helps you calm down. If you wake up and you feel like hiking helps you, if you wake up and you feel like praying helps you, if you feel like a nap or a drive or whatever it is, because people deal differently, but in a way whereby you don't self-sabotage, because the first thing that you can do also is try to find yourself at the bottom of a bottle. I found myself in my first year partying a lot, not opening up to my mother, not reaching out to my mother, not telling my mother that she hurt me, that she broke me, not bonding with my mom, because I was so angry at things that actually didn't involve me. Because as children, we take on the burdens of our parents. Yeah. So that was my number one thing, is that how I had to deal with it is that I had to go back and I had to dig as to where do I come from? Why do I act the way that I do? Who am I when no one is watching? And who do I want to be so that this person does not allow these two people to interfere with where I want to go? So that's how I deal with it. I try very hard to sit down with myself and to have honest conversations as to what I want in life and what I don't want, and what I don't want, I eliminate.
Do you think that the history with your parents affects your current relationships, past or present?
Yes.
And especially present, I think more importantly, it's where you are at now, because you've had your own, like you've told us about your healing mechanisms, they're different, right? But in your personal relationship with your partner, if you have a partner, the relationship with your friends, the relationship with your career, your colleagues, your dreams, where do you think you're at now? Because I think, healing is a process. For me, I don't think it just happens overnight and bam, because you know what it is and you understand what it is, then it's done. I don't think it's ever done. But I think it's a matter of, is it getting better?
I was having the same conversation yesterday. It's really screwed me up to such an extent whereby I don't know if I'm numb now or whether I feel nothing or I'm oblivious, but it's gotten to such a point whereby I'm not afraid of losing people anymore, because I've been through so much that if somebody, whether you come and go, it's not my problem. I have found solitude and a fortress in my work so much that even when my personal life is a mess, for as long as my career is propelling, I don't care. For as long as my academics are propelling, I don't care. If my personal life is going wrong, 2 weeks ago, I was going through the pits. I just lost two very close friends of mine. Not a physical death, but rather a separation. You understand? We went separate ways, which was so emotional for me. But we grow, and these things happen. But it didn't faze me. And these are people that I thought I loved. And then I had to think about, what does love actually mean to you, Khala? I'm not okay. I would like, I'm not okay, but
there's nothing wrong with
saying that you're not okay.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to deal with
it day by day.
It's a death in my heart, and it's finding people around me that are not going to judge me. It's finding people around me that are going to remind me that life is worth it. It's finding platforms like this that are going to remind me that healing is possible and we can get through to the other side, The relationship with my parents, to answer your question, has affected me immensely. In my past relationships, I have been complacent. They say you teach people how to treat you by the things you accept, decline, and reinforce. I have accepted so much that a lot of people that think Khala is such a strong woman would actually be like, that one was dumb. Who's dumb, but she's weak, but nobody sees it because it's behind closed doors. You make up excuses for the people that hurt you. You make up excuses. You try to hold back, because your mother has hurt you. You can't pick up the phone to be like, yeah, mom, actually, this guy isn't treating me good, You smile. You wave, you can't step up to a partner that you're dating that's treating you bad because your mother was treated bad, your grandmother was treated bad. So it's a norm. It's a norm. Who's a change? Let me pray. God will help. God will intervene. Do you understand?
When I get old, those are
change. And we try to save people. I think that's my biggest flaw, is that I always think that I can save people.
But like most of all, with the topic of the month, us celebrating Women's Month, it's Women's Month in this country. Our spirits are up. We are loving you guys. We are celebrating you guys, and we're saying, yes, we imbogoto. Though when you take the message to you, it takes you back to a place where those teachings didn't do anything for you. Like you're saying, when they say your mom did that, but what impact has it had on you? Nothing good for you to take.
Me.
Yes. What message do you have now for those who look up to Khala, those who follow you, who love your character on the river? I want people to know that, me, I'm always obsessed about the filter. I always want people to know that we are human, as women, that we keep fighting, we keep fighting because life is for the living, Obstacles and battles will be there. What message does Khala have, for those who look up to beauty, those who look up to you, those who follow you?
That confident, fabulous girl who I'm like,
I know that you also keep walking your own journey, and you keep ticking your bucket list and you keep fighting.
Yes.
But to a young Khala, a young beauty out there that aspires to be where you are right now, what is it that you can sum up as your journey, and how did you get here, and what do they need to know?
First and foremost, there's no manual. There's no manual to this life thing. It's very, very difficult. For me, living in a world, in a digital age, predominantly, there's so many influences, so many temptations that are contributing to a negative effect on the human mind. Do you understand? Like, I like to say that my role models are nobody that, and it's no one that people see on TV.
Yeah.
It's my grandmother, it's my aunt, it's my mother. Ke Rose, ke Africa, ke Brigitte, and ke Salome. Those are my people. And it's very important for people to understand that they need to write their own books. Everybody's journey is different. I came to Joburg, I wanted to be an actor, and it was so hard for me because I wasn't willing to sleep with anyone. I wasn't willing to sell out to anybody. I took the long way around by going to school. So, which is something that people also don't want, because then you ask for more money. So
sometimes the money is not even there.
Sometimes the money is not even there. Sometimes the money is not enough.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So it's very difficult for me to try and advise anybody. But the most and the best thing that I can do is to just share my story, which I will do in a bit, and to just say that at the end of the day, when you go to sleep at night, just make sure you're okay with yourself, and that you are able to sleep at night, and that your subconscious is okay. And that, nothing
is haunting you.
Nothing is haunting you. You understand? Because the worst thing that you can do is live a life that's a lie. Is to live a life where you're trying to impress other people, but you're not okay. I think so many times people see us and they think that
they say smiling.
Yeah.
And they don't know the pain within.
I mean, all the things that have been in the tabloids. People don't know what happens when doors are closed. Do you understand?
How you deal.
How you deal with it. What friends say to you, the people that you love, how you're betrayed, how you are hurt. Do you understand? How many doors are shut on you because of that one day that you actually made a genuine mistake, and then people think, Uguti, unjalo.
They write you off.
And they write you off. Or write lawyer. Do you understand? Because of maybe the car that you drive, people think that, hi, or whatever the case is. And it's not fair, So I think that everybody has their own story and everybody has their own life, but there's no manual, there's no troubleshoot button, and you just literally roll with the punches. You just literally roll with the punches.
And you overcome them.
So my story, I came to Joburg in 2004 to come live with my mom and my stepdad. They were still married then, with my cousins, my aunt. And we all stayed in a small townhouse where there was like 6-8 of us coming and going. Eventually, my mom and my aunt got into fights because of finances. My aunt wasn't paying rent, so my mom was like, get out with your baby sister, go pay your own rent, Which, to some retrospect, I kicked myself out of my mom's house because I saw how that helped her gain responsibility, and I didn't want to be comfortable.
And for her marriage as well, I suppose.
And for her marriage as well.
Because here's this instant family in front of this guy, and there's a lot of you from your mother's side, and he has to be the breadwinner.
And also in the same breath, my mother's a woman insecurities because now here is her baby sister.
He looks at her, or the way they get along.
Oh, do you understand?
Friendship.
A friendship, or an attitude. Makabuya ebusuku, she's drunk, whatever the case is. It's like it's your sister or whatever the case is, you know. So it's things that you see as a child happening that contribute to the woman that you want to become. So my aunt also, who's one of the strongest women that I know, so motivating, so inspiring, left the house with her son to build for herself, you know. And today she bought a house for herself. She lives on her own. She's fully accomplished. She has everything she's ever wished for, and I'm so proud of her because sometimes I ask myself what would have happened if she never left.
Yeah.
Because there's so many aunties and aunts that still live back at home. Do you understand? So my aunt moved out. Eventually we got our own bedrooms. Ooh, life was nice. Then we moved again. In primary school, I was a very quiet child. I started gaining weight. My weight fluctuates, you know. So that's why I'm a vegan, because so I can maintain. And I remember I had stretch marks in grade 6. And we went on a school trip, and one of the girls teased me about it. And I feel like as women, you know, we betray each other so much because we bring each other down, you know. So that made me very self-conscious. Like, even till date, I look at myself. Well, now it's better because I'm more aware there's body positivity and, you know, different worlds. I've empowered myself and my mind, you know. So high school, I went to the same high school where my mom taught, where I did drama, and I fell in love with drama. I had two of the greatest drama teachers, Jubilee Mugwebo and Shami Lilram. They actually instilled this love of drama in me. We actually decided to pursue drama thereafter in varsity. I went to Wits where things didn't really work out because I started partying a lot. I started drinking a lot. I got the wrong friends that got me into the clubbing scene. But I'm so grateful that I had that journey, because if I didn't, then I wouldn't be the person that I am today, you know. And I'm so grateful to those people till today also, because I look at them and I'm like, we all make choices in life. You know, it's your choices that define who you are.
Some stayed there and some moved on to build amazing lives.
Right? Eventually comes the acting, which is so difficult for me, because I'll just mention some of the difficulties that I've raised, because that was one of your questions. I remember going to this audition where I walked in. I remember I sat down. It was in Melville. I sat down in the line, and this guy called me, and I went inside. We spoke. It was great. I did well. He was like, yo, dude, you have the job. You don't even have to come back. Everything was great. And then I was in there longer than everybody else, so I started wondering what's going on. It was like 5 minutes longer than everybody else. Everybody was in 15 minutes, but I wasn't there for like 20. So when I was done with the interview, I remember walking to my car, and he was like, oh, no, let me walk you out. And I walked to my car. I was still studying out. I walked to my car, and he was like, oh, yeah, travel safe. And I was like, this is awkward. Why is he walking me to the car?
Did he walk everybody else? No.
No, he didn't walk everybody else. And then I was driving to my friend's workplace, one of my best friend's workplace thereafter. It didn't even take 5 minutes. He called me. And he was like, hey, how are you? It was great. I wanted to tell you your audition was great once again. So I'd actually like to get to know you. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And he was like, yeah, we can do lunch, whatever the case is. And I was like, I don't think that's appropriate. He was like, oh, okay, cool. He left it. And then the next morning he sent me a message. He was like, wake and bake. I was like, this guy is hectic.
Wake and bake?
Yeah. And then I was like, this guy is hectic, you know. And then I left it. And then 2 days later, I was in Melville at Texas. I bumped into him with one of the girls that was in the audition line. She got the job. They were having lunch together.
Yeah.
So immediately I knew what that meant, because I said no to the lunch. I didn't get the job.
Yeah, then you moved on to the next.
That was one guy. Separately, another guy called me up, hey, let's do drinks. I was like, okay, cool. This is when I was also studying out. Got to the place we were doing drinks. He invited a friend, and he said, bring a friend, and I brought a friend. After I brought a friend, we're having drinks. Everything is great. My mom was always strict, so we had a curfew. So now it's time for us to go home. All of a sudden, my guy's like, no, let's go chill at my friend's place, because the place was closing down. I was like, no, I have to go home. He was like, oh, okay. Then he says to my friend, do you have a friend that you can bring? And my friend, yeah. And then my friend was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Let's
then,
chill.
And then let's chill. And then my friend brought another friend. I got home. I was unemployed for 2 years.
Just like that.
Just like that. That's the year that I was doing my...
Because you're not cool enough.
Yeah, because I'm not cool enough. Because I'm not willing to sleep with anybody. And also, I'm very, very straightforward when it comes to my money. You know, I'm not trying to mix business with pleasure. And...
How did you learn that?
School. I think school, and also knowing what you want, because school is
Knowing
not
who you
always
are,
and knowing who
what
you
you
are
want.
and where you come from, most importantly,
And where you wanna
and where do you
go.
wanna go. Because I'm not trying to go back there,
Yeah.
and I know that in order to go there, I shouldn't do it like how the
way
other girls are
those
doing it.
people
Yeah.
did it.
Do you understand? Because I look around at
There's
these
no
girls.
sustainability, and you want staying power.
Was an actor 2 weeks and then what? You know, so it's very, very difficult that in today's world, in this industry specifically, women are exploited every day. Even men, you know, men don't speak about it. For men, it's very, very heartbreaking, because we said after 9, you know, they come, they smile, they looking good, but they're also sleeping their way to the top, you know, with other men. And nobody wants to have these conversations. I think I can have this conversation confidently because I know I'm not a part of that crew. When people are part of that crew, they shy away from it, and they shouldn't, you know, to each their own. But you know, how you get it is how you lose it.
But as a person who's in the industry, how would that change? Because it looks like in South Africa, it's a thing. And even recently, we've had articles in America where this has been, you know, people have been coming forward to say, that producer, that director took advantage of me for me to get jobs.
happened to
And
all
people
of
kept
us.
quiet.
It happened to me.
Look at
It
what
happened
happened
to
with
all of
Bill.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with Bill Cosby as well. Like Bill Cosby as well. You know, he's like now how old, and stories are coming out every day. What do you think needs to change? Because if people can come together and say one message, then such things, you know, they are exposed, they are brought to light, and they stop.
I feel like in South Africa, it's also very difficult because our industry isn't regulated. There's no curriculum, there's no rubric. So each and every Tom, Dick, and Harry can just come and do as they please in this industry. I mean, just right now, behind the scenes, we're laughing about people in the industry and what they do when they come in. Do they actually carry on? Are they thinking of sustainability and where they're going to be in a few years' time? So people just want to be famous, but they don't know actually what is required of them. So I think the first thing we need to do is build an environment whereby there's a curriculum, there's a rubric, and there's transparency. There's no transparency as to how much actors
And there's
earn,
no board,
how much, and there's no board. How much is the starting fee? So people come here and they get somebody from Instagram, "Umpatela 1,000 rand a day,"
And then you went to
and it's
school.
fine. And mina ngiphume esikolweni, so mina ngeke ngivumi 1,000 rand a day. Do you understand? Because number one, angipatali translation fee, and angipatali reoccurring
And
fees,
trainee.
and I'm trained. So there's just so many things that we need to touch
It's
about.
not regulated.
And also, nobody debriefs us. Nobody debriefs us. When you get home, nobody says to you, "Gugu, you are not that performance. Gugu, you are not that production. Sophie, you are not that character." So psychologically, you're screwed up, which is what other industries have, is that they have a system that protects them and their mind, you know, going forward to be like, come back to who you
to
are.
reality, and then it's acting time back to, oh, that's an important point.
That's an important. I think that people need to educate themselves in terms of the industry they want to be in and how to sustain themselves in it.
Yeah.
That is the way forward.
And not to be all over and saying, okay, this one doesn't work, let me go here, let me go here, let me go here.
So what's the dark side, man, with being young, pursuing your dream, moving, relocating, fighting every day, being the woman that you are to stand? What is the dark side that comes with you just breaking boundaries every day? I mean, do you have breakdowns? Do you have you know, challenges that right now, the ones you are talking about right now, most people will relate, but do you have challenges where you are just like, I don't know how I made it through? You know, you were in the dark place, you were down, you were crying, you beat yourself, but you rose.
Somehow I feel like I'm still in that dark place. It's like, it's a give and take. Like, it comes and it goes, you know. It rains sometimes.
And it pours.
And it pours. And when it rains, it pours. So for me, I feel like it's just reminding myself when the storm comes that the battle won belongs to the Lord, and you will get tested. Because too much is given, much is taken. You know, and the more you want, because it more money, more problems. The more you want, the more difficult it becomes. I mean, right now, look at myself and I'm like, I'm supporting my family.
That's where I was coming to say,
Yeah.
what are those particular ones that are affecting you now, currently?
My relationship also, you know. Personally, you try to look at yourself to be like, what do I want? What kind of woman do you want to be? What kind of partner do you want to be? How do you want to love? You compare yourself, you know, to other people. I mean, like I said, in the world of social media, you know, you go on Instagram and you see people who have nice cars or who have money, and you don't even know how they got it, you know? So it's very difficult for our generation to be in places and not understand, you know, to be like I said,
when am I gonna get there?
When am I gonna get there? And you put so
Am I
much
not
pressure.
pretty
Am I not
enough?
pretty enough?
Am I
Am I
not
not good
sexy
enough? Am I
enough?
not sexy enough? Am I not talented enough?
Not being paid enough.
Am I not being paid enough? And you don't even know, Uguti, that person actually slept their way to the top, you know?
What's my value?
What's my value? Rekindling my relationship with my mother. Telling my mother that mental health matters, you know? Making it normal for my brothers to go see a psychologist. Making it normal to call my grandmother and reminding her that, you know what? Actually, because of what she did, we have to unwind that. Do you understand? So most of the challenges that I face have to do not only with self, but with the world around me. So right now, trying to make sure that I'm in a world whereby it's safe for me to be myself.
You have to create that world.
You have
There's no
to create,
such world.
yeah,
There's no such world. You create the space.
Create that
that where you feel safe and that you feel loved.
I think we spoke about that when we said, what
trust.
do you do to calm down, to feel safe, to feel like you're healing? And I said, my
Yes.
bubble bath, and you said traveling. I mean, we had an episode where we spoke about that. Uguti, what is it that can really calm you at your worst times? Because unfortunately, today something will trigger you and you won't even know.
And there's a lot of triggers there.
Every
There's a lot of triggers that you won't
Every day.
even be aware of. Like, for me personally, it's like when somebody says you're being dramatic or rata drama, you know, I look at it and I'm like, drama is on screen. Or when somebody says, hi, we are actor. Or when I cry and someone says they don't trust my tears, I'm like, what do you mean?
Go and go to your act.
Go with your actor. So it's very, very difficult, and there's a lot of triggers, you know, but it's just trying to remind myself constantly that, you know what, I am not other people's opinions of me. Number one, you are not other people's opinions of you, and you need to build your own.
Sure, I think we can close it there. You are not other people's opinions of yourself. Two, you cannot really teach people how to love or handle you.
Yes.
It's a journey that you have to walk. Self-healing is a personal journey. Hey, Sophie?
Yeah, it's a personal journey. And I think, you know, we celebrate Women's Month every year. And I always say, what did I do better this year that I didn't do last year? Because every year we celebrate ourselves. We say, we sort of understand what it means. And and we sit with people like yourself and we share and you share. But do we change? Do we learn from it? Is next year going to be a better year? When we're talking Women's Month and we say, hey, from last year, look at me now. I have evolved. I've changed. And I think it's a constant war. I mean, I always say, why am I always going through stuff? And I look and I say, how many years have I gone through all of this? And how many more years is going to happen? So I think the fight is now. And it just starts with loving yourself. You know, like you're saying it's about you now.
Yeah.
So for me, I believe, ladies, the minute you make it about yourself and you put yourself first, everything else is going to work because you're going to decide your worth. Remember your worth during this Women's Month and remember who you are.
Thank you so much for coming
you
through,
guys for
Khala, and
having
sharing
me,
your story.
guys.
We hope
It
that it
means so
reaches more
much,
people, more Khalas out there, more beauties out there, that you understand that this journey, you have to know your worth.
Yeah.
You have to know the value of what you bring. And in closing, man, happy Women's Month in Bogotos. We love you.
We love you.
Handa.